Before we get into it, welcome to the channel. If you're into first-person stories about betrayal, quiet revenge, and consequences that hit when someone least expects them, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what country you're listening from, because what I'm about to tell you started with my wife looking me dead in the eyes over dinner and saying, "From now on, my paycheck is mine, and you handle your half." And it ended with court filings, a packed suitcase in my hallway, and me realizing peace can be something you choose and protect. My name is Evan Hart. I'm 35, a senior software engineer at a mid-sized tech company in Calgary, and I make about $185,000 a year. My wife, well, soon-to-be ex, was Lauren Hart. She's 32, a marketing manager, and she brings in around $98,000 a year. We'd been married a little over 6 years, and we have a daughter, Mia, who's 4. Mia is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and that matters because everything I did next was built around one rule I refused to break. My kid would not suffer because 2 adults couldn't act like adults. Now, before you decide I'm the villain here, you need to understand what our finances looked like for years. From day one, I carried the household. Not because Lauren couldn't contribute, but because she didn't have to. The big stuff alone was brutal. The mortgage was about $3,900 a month, property taxes averaged $600, home insurance was around $210. Then came the everyday load, utilities and internet roughly $520, groceries easily $1,250, car insurance for 2 vehicles about $290, medical and dental around $240, routine maintenance and repairs floating near $450. And the one that still makes my jaw tighten? Mia's daycare, $200 a month. On top of that, Lauren always pushed date nights and dinners out because they were important for us. Another $550 or so. When you put it all together, it was roughly $10,000 a month leaving my account. Every month, for years. Meanwhile, Lauren's contributions were basically her phone bill and the occasional helpful grab from the store. Berries, shampoo, little things that look generous until you realize they're pocket change compared to the structure holding the house up. So where did her income go? Spas,
Boutique shopping,
makeup hauls, brunches, weekend self-care trips, subscriptions I didn't even know existed, a candle club of all things. She lived like someone who didn't need to worry, because she didn't, and I told myself that was love. I told myself providing meant protecting. I was wrong. The shift happened after one Friday night out with her friends, especially one friend named Kara, twice divorced, always the loudest voice at the table, always saying things like, "Men are scared of independent women," like it was a medal. Lauren came home that night with a script. Not drunk, not tired, rehearsed. We were eating leftovers at the kitchen island, and she kept her tone casual, almost bored, and said, "From now on, my income is mine. You handle your half." I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't beg for an explanation. I just nodded, took a sip of water and said, "Perfect." And I swear she smiled, because she thought perfect meant I was folding. She thought nothing would change. That night, after she went to bed, I opened my laptop and did the math. A true 50-50 split meant her share was about $5,055 a month. After taxes, her take-home pay was around $6,000, which meant if she paid her half, she'd have under $1,000 left for everything else. Shopping, brunch, weekend escapes, all the little luxuries that made her feel like a star. In other words, the lifestyle she'd built on top of my quiet willingness to carry the load would collapse. So I built a spreadsheet, clean, simple, itemized, every bill, every month, down to the last dollar. The next morning I printed it, set it beside her coffee mug, and waited. The color drained out of her face as she read it. She blinked like the numbers might rearrange themselves if she stared long enough. Then she looked up and said the first honest sentence I'd heard from her in a long time. "I can't afford this." I kept my voice calm and said, "That's interesting, because I've been affording the full amount every month for years." She snapped into panic mode fast. She called Kara on speaker like she was summoning a supervisor. Kara launched straight into it. How a real man pays the bills, how marriage isn't a business contract, how I was being petty over money, how Lauren deserved to feel empowered. I let her talk until she ran out of breath. Then I repeated Lauren's exact words back, slow and clear, like I was reading a statement into the record. From now on, my money is mine, and you handle your half. There was a pause, the kind where you can hear someone realizing their argument doesn't fit the facts. Then Kara mumbled something about context and the line went dead. A few hours later, Lauren's mother called me. Marilyn. Polished voice. The kind people use when they're trying to sound reasonable while doing something unreasonable. She told me I was punishing her daughter. I said, punishment would be retroactive. This is equality. This is what Lauren asked for. Lauren refused to pay, not in a give me time to adjust way, but in a flat I'm not doing that way, like she could declare reality invalid. So I stopped playing my old role. I canceled the extra card she had tied to my account. I split grocery spending. I stopped automatically covering the little oops moments that always seemed to cost a few $100s. And that's when the real collapse began. Midweek, call it week 1. I emailed Mia's daycare and asked them to split the upcoming invoice into 2 equal payments. One billed to me, one billed to Lauren. When Lauren found out, she exploded like I'd threatened our child. She accused me of making Mia suffer to win. I didn't raise my voice. I said, Mia has 2 parents and 2 incomes, unless you believe only one of us is supposed to pay. For the first time in years, Lauren didn't have an answer. 9 days after her big declaration, she was out with Kara at a shopping center, sipping mimosas and treating self-care like a competitive sport. She tried to pay for a pile of stuff, skincare, makeup, shoes she didn't need, and her card got declined. Not once, but twice with that loud beep that turns heads. She called me from the parking lot, voice shaking between rage and embarrassment. My card isn't working, she hissed. I said, use your own income. She snapped, I don't have enough. And that's when I realized the truth was worse than I'd thought. She wasn't just enjoying my support, she was dependent on it, and she'd built her entire identity around pretending she wasn't. Kara started whispering poison. Divorce him, take the house, take child support, take everything. But this time Lauren hesitated, and that hesitation was the first crack in her certainty. That night I found her at the kitchen table with her bank statements open, face pale, eyes wide like she'd just discovered gravity. Her personal spending averaged around $4,200 a month. Shopping, lunches, subscriptions, girls' weekends, even a monthly box that shipped scented candles and fancy matches like she was living in a commercial. For years, she never had to choose. I always said yes. We barely spoke for 3 days. On the 4th night, just after midnight, she came downstairs with red eyes and a voice so small I almost didn't recognize it. Evan, she said, I think I messed up, and not just about the money. I sat up on the couch and didn't rescue her with words like I used to. I waited. She sat across from me and gave a speech about being unhappy, losing herself, how Kara and the girls opened her eyes, how she needed independence, how she needed to feel like her own person again. Then she cried real tears and said, I don't want to lose you, but I need things to go back to how they were. I'll do better. I'll appreciate you more. Just take care of everything again. I can't do this. Did you catch that? She didn't say, I'll pay my fair share. She didn't say, I was wrong. I'll contribute. She said, please go back to carrying me. It wasn't a confession. It was a negotiation, a guilt trap. She wanted me to feel bad enough to restart the old system, my money funding her comfort while she called it empowerment. I looked at her and said one word. No, her face changed like I'd slapped her. She stood up, went back upstairs, and the next morning she made a phone call I didn't know would change everything. The following evening I got home around 5:30, opened the front door, and immediately felt something was off. Shoes in the entryway that weren't ours. A coat on the rack I didn't recognize. Then I heard a voice from the living room. Marilyn's voice. Calm, loud, comfortable, like she owned the place. I walked in, and there she was on my couch with her legs crossed, holding a tea mug like she was in a hotel lounge. A suitcase sat in the hallway like she planned to stay. Lauren sat beside her with arms folded and chin lifted, looking at me like this was checkmate. Lauren, I said slowly, why is your mother in our living room with a suitcase? Our living room, Lauren corrected, smug. Marilyn set her mug down and told me to sit so she could explain how marriage works. A real husband provides. A real man doesn't nickel and dime his family. I was destroying my home over a spreadsheet. I let her finish, then asked one question. How much support did you get when you divorced your ex? The air disappeared from the room. Suddenly her finances were private, but mine were everybody's business. I told Lauren, send your mother home. Then we can talk like adults. Neither of them moved. And in that moment I saw the strategy. 2 against 1, guilt as a weapon, pressure until I folded. What they didn't know was I wasn't alone either. At exactly 6:15, the doorbell rang. My younger brother, Nolan, walked in. He just finished law school, and he has this calm, surgical way of speaking that makes people listen even when they hate what he's saying. He carried a thick manila folder and sat down like we were in a board meeting. I'm here as Evan's brother, he said. But since we're talking about fairness, I brought some numbers. The room shifted. Nolan laid it out like evidence. Over 6 years, I'd covered roughly $750,000 in household expenses. Lauren's total contribution was around $52,000. That's not traditional. That's not teamwork. That's a 93-7 split. Then came the part that hit like a hammer. While I paid every bill, Lauren spent close to $300,000 on herself. Shopping, trips, spas, subscriptions, built entirely on the safety net I provided. She'd had financial freedom for years. The moment I asked for equality, she called it abuse. The silence was brutal. Marilyn turned toward her daughter, eyes narrowed. You spent nearly $300,000 on yourself? Lauren tried to justify it. Gifts, little treats. I deserve it. The usual, until Nolan cut in and said the quiet part out loud. None of it existed without me covering the entire household. And then something I didn't expect happened. Marilyn looked at Lauren and said, Listen to your husband. She stood up, grabbed her suitcase, leaned toward me and whispered, She got this from her father. Then she left, abandoning Lauren like the last defense had surrendered. After that, Lauren started paying her half, but she did it like someone being robbed. The boutique coffees stopped. The spa days vanished. Coupons replaced luxury lunches. And every month when she sent the transfer, she acted like it physically hurt. You're living like a roommate now, I told her one day. Not a prisoner. Then came week 2, and the daycare called. Lauren's half hadn't been paid. Not late. Not processing. Simply hadn't been sent. When I confronted her, she didn't even look up from her phone. A mother shouldn't have to pay for childcare, she said. That's what fathers do. I stared at her and it clicked. This was never about fairness. It was about freedom without responsibility. Independence when it benefited her, dependence when it cost her. I paid the daycare in full because Mia wouldn't be a casualty of Lauren's pride, but I documented everything. Every refusal, every excuse, every line that revealed how she really saw me. Then, on a Tuesday night, everything changed. Lauren was in the shower. Her tablet was on the counter, unlocked. I wasn't snooping until I saw a banking app one didn't recognize. It wasn't our joint account. It wasn't even her usual bank. It was a separate savings account at a different institution, and the balance was just over $33,000. She'd been moving money in secret for months. $800 here, $1,200 there. Building her safety net while I covered every bill. And then I saw the transfers labeled with a single initial, D. Dinner reimbursement. Hotel split. Little heart emojis in the notes like she was a teenager. Nearly $5,000 over 4 months. That's when my stomach dropped in a way money never could. I didn't confront her. I took screenshots, sent them to my phone, and put the tablet back exactly where it was. That night she kissed me goodnight. I smiled back because when you're collecting evidence, you smile. At 1 a.m., I sent everything to Nolan. At 2:19 a.m., he replied, I know who D is. You need to sit down. I was already sitting. I just wasn't ready. The next morning we met at a quiet cafe in a part of town neither of us ever went to. Nolan was already there, laptop open, phone face down. No small talk. He just looked at me and said, Sit. Then he slid his phone across the table. On the screen, Dylan Shaw, the senior marketing director at Lauren's company. My chest went cold. Screenshot after screenshot told the story. Candlelit dinners, Lauren in the same black blazer she'd worn on a night she claimed was team bonding. Transfers with hearts, weekends that lined up perfectly with her late meetings, her yoga retreats, her conference trips, a boutique hotel in Banff, booked multiple times in 4 months. Every trip had a lie attached to it. Nolan asked me what I wanted to do. I stared at my coffee and gave the only answer that made sense. We do this with math, I said. No screaming. No dramatic kitchen confrontation. Strategy. I hired a divorce attorney named Simone Caldwell. She listened, then laid it out with clinical clarity. The secret account, the affair funded with marital money, and the years of wildly unequal contributions mattered. A lot. Her advice was simple. Act normal, collect everything, move smart. So for 2 weeks, I became the perfect husband. I cooked. I smiled. I kissed Lauren goodnight. And after she fell asleep, I filed evidence, transactions, messages, dates, one piece at a time. Then Lauren mentioned another work conference from Friday to Sunday. Banff again. I didn't flinch. Have fun, I said. She studied me like she was checking for a trap, then kissed my forehead. I love you, she said. I smiled and said it back. And the worst part is I meant it, because love doesn't shut off like a switch even when someone's poisoning your life. But love doesn't erase lies either, and it definitely doesn't refund the money she sent to the man she was sleeping with while I stayed home reading bedtime stories to our daughter. That forehead kiss felt like a goodbye she hadn't written yet, so I wrote mine. Friday at 2 p.m., Lauren left with her suitcase, waving from the garage like everything was normal. I waved back. The moment her taillights disappeared, I moved. I'd already rented a small 2-bedroom apartment 15 minutes away overlooking a park. Mia's room was ready, purple walls, a stuffed elephant on the pillow, night light plugged in. Safe. That night I packed what mattered. Clothes, documents, Mia's things, her medical records, the family photos I couldn't stomach leaving behind. I didn't touch Lauren's stuff. I didn't want her to notice what was missing. I wanted her to notice who was missing. When I picked Mia up, she squeezed my hand and asked, "Daddy, are we going on an adventure?" I swallowed hard and said, "Yeah, sweetheart, the best kind." By Saturday, the divorce petition was filed. Sunday night at 7:46, Lauren called, frantic. "The house is empty," she said. "Mia's room is empty. Where is Mia?" "She's safe with me," I said. "You got a lawyer? Why do you need a lawyer?" I kept my voice steady. "How was Banff?" "Fine," she said too fast. The conference was, "How was Dylan?" Silence. 10 full seconds. Then I said, "Room 314 at the Lakeside Lodge. 3 bookings. Almost $5,000 in transfers. Hearts in the notes. I have proof. My attorney has it too." She started babbling. "It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think," I said. "Good night, Lauren." And I hung up. My hand was steady. My voice was steady. Inside, the part of me that still remembered the woman I married, the girl who laughed at my stupid jokes, the woman I slow danced with in our living room, was screaming. I buried it, because if I went back, I'd teach Mia that love means letting someone break you. Within an hour, my phone lit up. Calls, texts, voicemails, crying, then screaming. Marilyn called too, asking if we could fix this as a family. No, not after Lauren used our money to book romantic weekends with another man while I stayed home parenting. Kara posted online, painting me as an insecure husband who couldn't handle a strong, independent woman. Nolan responded with one sentence. "Some independent people can't handle paying half the bills or staying faithful." He didn't argue feelings. He shared facts, clean and simple, and the internet did what it does. By midnight, her narrative was ash. That night, in my new apartment, with Mia asleep beside her stuffed elephant, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Not the silence of avoidance, the silence of choosing myself and my child. But Lauren didn't beg the way you see in movies. She hired her own attorney and went nuclear. Full custody, spousal support, a huge monthly payment, half my retirement, and a claim that I abandoned the family. Me, the guy who paid for everything, who stayed home every weekend she was away, who never missed a bedtime story. Suddenly I was the villain, and the final chapter was coming fast. 5 days after I moved, a certified letter arrived. I opened it at my kitchen table while Mia ate cereal. It was from Harrington and Pike, representing Lauren Hart in the dissolution of our marriage. I read it slowly, and every line felt like a punch thrown by someone who still thought I'd stay still. She requested sole physical custody. She claimed I left without notice and created an unstable environment. She demanded $4,500 a month in spousal support because of my higher income and her limited financial independence due to years of financial control. She wanted a 50-50 split of all marital assets, retirement accounts, house equity, plus allegations of abandonment and financial abuse. I read it twice, then laughed. Not because it was funny, but because she still didn't get it. She was playing checkers. I'd been playing chess for weeks. I called Simone. She wasn't surprised. The person who files first doesn't win, she told me. The person with better evidence wins. And we had evidence. Simone didn't send a simple response. She sent a 40-something page packet, tabbed and organized, like a textbook titled Consequences. 6 years of bank records showing the 93-7 split. The secret account with over $33,000. The transfers to Dylan. The hotel bookings matching the fake work trips. Screenshots of Kara texting Lauren about hiding money and building an exit plan. Daycare logs showing Lauren refused to pay and literally said childcare was a father's job. The documented personal spending that only existed because I covered the household. Simone ended with a line so clean it almost hurt. Lauren's claims of abandonment and abuse were not only unsupported, they were contradicted by documented financial reality. Lauren's attorney got the packet on Thursday. By Friday, she switched lawyers and the demands started to shrink fast. Dylan disappeared the second he realized evidence existed. He blocked Lauren everywhere. Turns out he'd been living with his girlfriend, Tessa, for 2 years. Lauren wasn't his future. She was his secret. Kara's little circle imploded too, and one of Lauren's own friends offered to testify on my behalf because she was tired of watching Lauren treat me like a walking wallet. Marilyn called me a few days later with a broken voice and said, "I raised her to expect everything and offer nothing. This is what it cost." 2 weeks after that, at 11 p.m., I heard 3 soft knocks on my apartment door. Lauren stood there looking thinner, exhausted, stripped of ego. No demands, no performance. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I know what I did." She admitted the money, the affair, listening to Kara, turning me into a paycheck instead of a partner. She said she lost herself chasing a version of life she didn't even need. I listened because I deserved to hear it. When she finished, I said quietly, "You're right. I deserved the truth. But hearing it doesn't undo it." And in the silence that followed, we both understood something people don't like to say out loud. Some lines, once crossed, don't lead back home. Lauren nodded, set the house key on my table, and said she'd move back in with Marilyn. "The house is yours," she said. "It always was." She told me she'd withdraw the demands. I could set the terms. The only thing she wanted was to see Mia. "She's your daughter," I said. "That never changes." Lauren left without another word, and that soft click of the door closing was louder than any argument we'd ever had. I sat on the floor for a long time, not celebrating, not grieving, just existing. Then Mia waddled down the hall in her pajamas, climbed into my lap, and said, "I'm lucky too, Daddy." And just like that, I remembered what I'd been fighting for. The divorce finalized later that summer without a trial. I kept the house. We agreed on shared custody, with Mia primarily with me during the week and weekends alternating. No spousal support. No fantasy paut. The affair, the secret account, the documented refusal to pay for childcare, and the years of unequal contributions destroyed Lauren's case before it could even stand up. She kept what was left of her secret savings, and it was gone within a couple of months. She moved in with Marilyn, started real therapy, and cut Kara out for good. I got promoted. More stability, fewer late nights, a calmer life. Now Mia and I make homemade pizza every Friday. She falls asleep on my chest sometimes, and I carry her to bed and listen to her quiet breathing, because that's what mattered. Not the money, not the house, not winning. I don't regret agreeing to 50-50, because the moment I said, perfect, I stopped arguing and started building a life where my daughter would be safe. I regret the years I confused love with erasing myself. Lauren told me her money was hers, and I agreed, and by doing that I discovered something she never expected. My peace was mine too. If you made it to the end, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my position, because I read more than you think, and I'll see you in the next story.